Well, there's your trap.
Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, wishing you a very happy and healthy and even peaceful and profitable Sunday start to your morning, if that's even the right way of putting it. Maybe I'm dyslexic. More importantly, the OBS gods have not blessed me on this opening scene today as, there it is, yes! Oh my god, yes! You have no idea how many times I've tried to run this opening right in over here and the charts not to pop up. Finally, the OBS gods have removed cock from ass, and we can actually look at this in the background. Jesus Christ, that is beautiful. Anyways, before I get too deep into it, I should say in a more somber tone, it does seem like Elsa probably has coronavirus. She's been feeling like absolute shit the last few days, running a fever, and she's a very strong girl. She's gonna get through it. I want to say massive thank you for all the support and love that people have been sending her way. She really appreciates it, and I'm sure that she's gonna be recovering relatively soon. I suppose that also means for myself, I'll probably be getting it inevitably. So we'll see how much analysis I can get out before that happens. So, oh well. Anyways, fair warning. On top of that, I will be on Twitch again later today as well, doing another epically long stream as we've been doing for the past like month or so, I guess now. Anyone's welcome to join on in. The links in the description below, of course. I should remind you though, perhaps that the culture there is not necessarily focused on requesting endless amounts of shitcoin. It's focused on, talking shit, philosophy, playing games, of course, as well. Today's gonna be Total War, and then imminent price action, like actually imminent price action, shit that's actually going on. Of which yesterday we had some fun happening, so I'd like to follow up on that specifically. But that small request, by the way, that very humble request does also apply to my Discord inbox. I would massively appreciate it if that was not the venue for requesting shitcoins. In fact, if there's no venue for that, that would be even better. Anyways, sorry, I probably sound like a complete asshole right now. Anyways, looking at the Krown trading application, which can be found at app.krowntrade.net. It's free. Take advantage of it. Or not, but fair enough. You're more than welcome to. We do see that open interest and pretty much all of the metrics have been still steady from yesterday to today. We do see that with that trappy behavior, open interest comes back down into normality as Bitcoin comes back down into the short-term range at that 660 million marker. So we still haven't seen a big break to the upside or to the downside, further verified by the open interest. We're going to be extrapolating this more and more. I wish I had an open interest chart, which will be coming this later week as our developer gets out of quarantine himself. He's recovering as well. Absolutely beautiful, and should be in the next update, probably in this next week, I'd imagine. So with that in the back of our mind's eye, let's go check out the actual price action right on over here. And following up from yesterday's analysis, we were using this Bit Mexican chart on the low term time frames, and during the Twitch stream yesterday, we saw this 4-hour dildo close right in the midst of this blue box territory, right above 7,100, and that's what initiated our next test up to the 7,300ish region right here, of which we said that we were likely to get a rejection in that region. I do believe that is what the trap was all about for a short term. I mean, to be fair, is this like an actual trap on like a high time frame? Fuck no, but it's a weekend, so have to take it with a grain of salt. It's a weekend. Anyways, as it stands right now, Bitcoin coming back down after rejection right here to test back down to our lower blue box territory. This is going to sound like hindsight analysis, but we covered this all yesterday, and now I want to follow up on kind of the next sort of areas that I'd be looking for. Well, first and foremost, there is actually something very, 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 very interesting going on the board right here. We actually do have a 4-hour dildo golden cross once again on spot price action for U.S. markets. The funny thing about this is, and what I put a lot more weight on, is first off, the Bitcoin versus yen right on over here, which I haven't been covering too much, but we do see a difference between spot Bitcoin on U.S. markets and Bitcoin yen. And Bitcoin yen has been a lot better, especially in downwards market for Bitcoin. And then, of course, also CME futures as well, which are nowhere near getting golden crossed on this time. In fact, remember, CME is closed at 70.80 on Friday. So I do believe what I said yesterday still holds true, that we're likely going to stick around this region until at the very least CME opens later today at about 5, I believe it's 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe it is. So I don't think that we're going to be seeing all that much interesting stuff in the interim. And I actually do think that with the way that all these low time frame oscillators are kind of printed right now, we are primed to likely test a little bit lower. Looking at this blue box territory right here, it has valiantly held it up on the first pass on this, on this next area. And we actually had a really good discussion about this on Twitch yesterday, just using these as nice little scalp areas. But I do believe that there is pressure down right here, as we do see all low term time frame momentum oscillators turning back down. 4-hour Stokes are very likely to confirm across down here. Also putting in some bearish divergence at the top, although does that really count if we don't have it on 4-hour RSI, which we do. So we actually do have both sets of divergence. So yes, I do think that move is more or less played out, to be honest with you, though, as well. More importantly, we do see 4-hour RSI breaking the exponential as well. And I do believe that's going to come back down and test around the median of, or sorry, the neutral zone is what I'm trying to say. Jesus Christ, man. Let's go check out our other low-term time frames to come up with a little bit of a short-term bias and see if that follows through. We see 3-hour Stokes crossing down from the same area. I like that read. 2-hour Stokes from the same area as well, and hourly Stokes already down. And this is usually when I like to trade. Now, I really don't like to trade on weekends, and I will not be trading this on a weekend, even though I did take a little bit of a scalp off that 7,300-ish region to the upside. I did close that relatively soon, because again, my rule is, while you can make good trades on the weekend, although I just feel like, historically speaking, unless if it's super obvious, I'm not interested. So to me, that was a little bit more obvious. Now we're coming back down into normality here, and I do believe that after a little bit of a short-term bounce back up, which we're kind of seeing right now, I do believe that Bitcoin will likely come back down and test somewhere around the $7,000 region once again. Now that's not really bringing into account anything on the medium or higher term timeframes. That's only relevant to the low term timeframes, and I can break that down a little bit more by saying that, hey, if until we actually close below 7,100 on at the very least a 2-hour dildo, preferably a 4, but probably a 2-hour dildo does it anyways. I would look for that extension, but until that happens, it's still can kind of float its way around here. Maybe we put in some hidden bullish divergence on some of these lower term timeframes to get another stab back up to like 7,250. I think that's very possible as well. But overall, that would be my triggering event for the next short-term trade if I was going to take that, which I'm actually not, unless if CMEs are trading by that time, which I think that is actually a little more likely that this happens sooner rather than later. The reason why I say that is because low-term time frame historical volatility percentiles are very low here, very, 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 very low. We've seen a contraction phase on the 4-hour going all the way from March 13th to basically the end of March, and then now we're kind of formulating something new going on right in over here, which I don't think is so obvious just yet. But more importantly, I don't need to know what's going on in this area right here to analyze what's going on right here, where we do see that this is coming up from a pretty much a zero read actually on the 4-hour, which does hold quite a bit of weight. That typically does precipitate some pretty hefty moves. Last time that we've seen a kind of a read like this was actually back on over here before this nice move actually to the downside. Does not imply direction, by the way. Momentum oscillators will. And then, of course, back on over here before this nice move to the downside as well. So I do think that, in line with overall trend, and of course, and of course, momentum oscillators, I do think that that expansion likely does come to the downside, and that does suggest that we do have, a potentially more prolonged move. And let's see if that lines up now with the medium and higher term timeframes. But before we get on to there, I do want to say one more thing. Yes, the 200 exponential moving average on the 4-hour. While we do have a golden cross right here, this is only present on US spot exchanges. We do not see this on yen. We do not see this on CME futures, which I believe holds more weight. And so while I do think that we're probably going to come back down and test around this region, which is around that $7,000 area, the real question is, does Bitcoin hold it or break it? If it does break it, if we actually do break the 200 exponential moving average, that would initiate my next trade down all the way back towards about 6,700-ish region right around here. I don't know if I have this area marked off. Yeah, I do have this area marked off on this region right here. And what do you know? That actually does line up with our long-term support trend line coming in basically from the ultimate low of this formation. Actually, it's not the ultimate low on this formation on MEX, because MEX had an outlier close right here. Compare that with maybe like what we see on GDAX. You can see that it's basically the same thing, especially if we make an excuse for it by using the last couple lows, which I do believe works a little bit well. Anyways, going back on to what we were just focusing on, Bitcoin technically did close above the 55 yesterday, which is interesting. However, I do believe that this is at the very least for a short-term trap, which we kind of already did play that out. And I do think that it probably plays out a little bit more here. But now let's go on to the medium-term timeframes and see what they're suggesting. As we do see 12-hour just coming back down to test around this blue box territory. That's fine for right now. I need to see how this next one closes though. And realistically, the 12-hour range is actually very, 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 very obvious. And I really, really like that, because I do believe it's going to set up for a decent sized a breakout of this range, whether it be to the upside or the downside this coming week, because we do see the volume signature very obviously tailing off here. coming to an apex in early May, which is actually, funnily enough, right around the halving date now, isn't it? Which would suggest that we probably do resolve this. It's showing around like the 22nd or the 23rd to the 24th. So yeah, early this next week, I do think is likely, or sorry, middle of this next week is rather likely, I do think. Anyways, let's go check out momentum oscillators as well. Or sorry, no, hold on. Before we get onto that, let's start to compile the short-term analysis with the medium-term analysis. Now, if Bitcoin does reaccumulate in this area right here, and this is just, a test back down to support, and it does hold back up, which again, I do believe that this blue box is going to be the gatekeeper for that trade. I would be looking for still the medium term range that we spoke about yesterday to be the big one. To the upside, to remind myself, in this blue box between about 73 to 73.50ish region, nice $50 range. To the downside, as we just spoke about, 6,700 to 6,750 would still do it for me. So until we break out of that range, I don't see any greater trade to be had. And when I say greater trade to be had, I mean $500 plus, maybe even $1,000 plus, especially looking at 4-hour historical volatility percentile. So again, putting all the tools together right now, as I would like to talk about the upside, just because it is it is appropriate, especially when we're technically a little bit closer to breaking it on the medium terms. If we do break above 7,300, even 7,350 probably does it for me. I would look for extension actually all the way up here. The reason why I do say that is because Bitcoin actually does have, now this is getting a little bit convoluted here. Do I want to do it on this chart? We can do it on this chart for now. We actually do have some sort of a falling channel going on right here, or falling wedge, no matter, depends which one you want to call it. I'd say it's more of a channel actually, because it is more parallel, and we can make a measure move based upon that now, can't we? As it would suggest, hey, you motherfucker, get on over here. It would suggest, hey, you motherfucker, get on over here. It would suggest a measure move back on up to about the 7,700-ish level, which if I'm using this as a liquid zone for a past prior order block coming in from early March, I would say that aligns with that region pretty damn well. I have a more aggressive one right here, because that's not what I was talking about, or that's not really relevant to what I'm talking about right now. This would be the area right here between about 77.50 and 79, it looks like. So $150 range right at the top of this area right here, correlated with a historical order block, which is also, more importantly, the last big breakout that we saw from this accumulation zone in late 2019. So I really like this area historically speaking. If Bitcoin does make it up there, I do believe that not only does it line up with this measure move, essentially, if I do it exactly, it should be right in line with there, but also hitting those areas, of course, as well. And if we were to probably put a fib on this, I would imagine it's going to be one of the major fibs. Now let's do a bearish retracement on this first one, and then we'll do a bullish retracement and see which one works a little bit better. But a bearish retracement would actually have that around the 618. On a bullish retracement, it would have it around, can you work please? There we go. It would have it around the 382, it looks like. Yeah, a little bit lower than that. So the question is, are we looking at a bullish retracement or a bearish retracement? Well, I'd say if we are taking it that way, it actually would be a bearish retracement, because we're going from high to low. So it's quite literally a downtrend, and I think that that's further verified by our higher term time frame. So what I really want to say here is, I do think that Bitcoin is going to be in some trappy behavior. The question to me is does Bitcoin top out where we are right now, or do we come up a little bit higher into this, into the late 700 or 7,000 region, and initiate the next move up? Could it also be that Bitcoin completely, blows through the fucking roof here? Possible, but I don't think so. I think that that's hopium for the halving people. The reason why I say that is because the monthly does suggest a pretty staunch range. Let me go to a more high time frame chart right here. We do see the yellow 21 exponential moving average so far rejecting price action, and so far so good, coming in right around about 7,300. Fucking beautiful, because that is our next medium term, and by extension high term time frame pivot point, at least for myself, as I would look for an extension all the way into basically 8,000 after that. I think I said like 78 to 7,900 earlier. Close enough is close enough as far as I'm concerned. And I do think that if Bitcoin does close the monthly here, even like above 7,000, that actually would set it up potentially well for next month. But for right now, I do think that, and something that I think I could very likely be accountable to, at least for my own trading behaviors, and I will be trading, probably be setting up options positions against this coming week, assuming that this weekly close is interesting enough to myself. I would be confident saying that very likely we do close this monthly below 7,300. That doesn't mean we can't test above. I think that we can very easily get a test above, but I do think that just based off this right here, Very likely that we do close below, and that will then start to ebb the flow into, or sorry, ebb the concentration into our momentum oscillators here. Looking at monthly Stokes, they're still very much nosediving after rejection from the bullish control zone. I do not like that read at all. Rather similar to what we saw in February 2014 on this bull trap right here. Looks a little bit familiar now, doesn't it? And then on top of that, we do see monthly RSI is more or less nosediving, although trying to bounce it right now. It does seem like we have a pretty damn good, or maybe Bitcoin has a pretty damn good history of playing off the bearish control zone once, twice, thrice, 4 times, all the way from 2014 to 2019 right here. We did put in the last macro lows on the higher term timeframes right here as well, correlating with this area, and this area, of course. So if we did come back down around there, I would be looking for another potential low to be put in. Could that be somewhere around the 55? Maybe yes. That would be around actually mid to low 5,000s now. So let's go see if we have anything pointing towards that region on the medium and higher term timeframes now. So I believe yesterday we did already kind of talk about this, but let's go back and kind of reassess, as if you are looking at this as some sort of like massive rising channel here, which should I just delete everything? Fuck. Nah, let's go to Finex and do a fresh one. Oh, motherfucker, doesn't work. Can we work it? Yeah, we can work it like this. Okay, cool. You know, you would have something like this, and the bearish view on this is some sort of massive rising channel, right? And we can make a measure move on that as well, not too scientific here. And I correlated with a breakdown point. Oh, what's that? Right around 5350 to 5400-ish region. Now this is assuming that we break, you know, early this next week, which is obviously not happened just yet. So all this analysis still hinges on the fact that the medium time frame range is actually broken, you know, coming in this next week. If it gets broken to the upside, I'm looking for a move to about 8,000. Very likely, at the very least, a nice scalp trade there for myself, maybe more. To the downside, I do believe that we would head back down to the mid to low 5,000s, as that's where I kind of have my guns aimed towards. As it is right now, though, we should look at 12-hour Stokes, as I believe they are perhaps once again signaling something. That's strange. Oh, sorry, this is daily. That's why. Oh, my bad. Okay, there we go. 12-hour Stokes are actually technically up right now, and this is coming off of a rejection off that next order, or sorry, that next liquid zone to the upside, right? So to me, when I look at this, it just offers up a bearish reset on momentum oscillators as we just play out the short term, or sorry, medium term and short term range actually, as a rejection as it stands right now. So the more hesitation below 7,300, the more and more inherently bearish this does get. Let me actually get this right now. Yeah, and there's your measure move right in the blue box. Beautiful. So that's about right around 7,900, it looks like, if we do initiate that move. Anyways, I'm going to get rid of that right now because I want to focus on this. So yes, you know, when I see something like that, it does offer up a bearish reset. On top of that, I do think that we see, nope, the jewel's not lining up. Is there any jewel lining up right now? No. Actually, most of them are more on a bullish look right now. Yeah, not really getting too much from this. In fact, it's going to take some patience for it to line up for a damn good sell signal if that is the case. My point here is that more hesitation below 7,300 does inherently make this more bearish on the medium and higher term timeframes by extension. But I don't really look for that big home run trade until we actually break this level to the downside right here at 6,700. Which way does my heart think that we're going to go? I do think that we're going to go to the downside. Overall, I think that most people are getting very, very bullish once again. Although I don't know. Then again, looking at that, is that really true? Because the fear and greed index is ticking out at 16 right now. I mean, that's pretty fucking low. So maybe I'm the moron trying to sell the wall of worry climbing rally. So maybe. But still, I like the edges here, and I do think that there's plenty of trades to be had for both the upside and the downside, regardless of your overall bias. Blue boxes of peace and destiny is what they're for, essentially, in the way that I use them. What else can we look at while we're here? I do believe there is something on 12-hour RSI, or is there something on 12-hour RSI? No, I'm not really getting anything from this. More or less neutral right now, neither bullish nor bearish. We do see 12-hour historical volatility percentile is very much contracting all the way since March 13th, which is what you'd expect. That last spike up to the upside, just meeting this trend line right here. Doesn't need to be exact, but close enough is close enough, and still kind of following this trajectory. I wouldn't look for expansion to come until, again, still like a little bit middle to end of this next week. as we head into the latter part of April. This does come to an apex around May 15th, May 16th, which I actually believe that's around the halving date. So funnily enough, that actually does align with a big expansion phase around there. And let me give you an idea of what to expect when you see a contraction phase for this long, because a long contraction phase does imply a long expansion phase. And going back in history, when was the last time we had a long contraction phase like this? I mean, this one right here actually really stands out, actually. This guy right here. So this one was a contraction phase all the way from November 2018 to February of 2019. And without even looking at the charts, I know that this is the big drop from 6,000 to 3,000 before the next expansion from basically 3,000 to fucking 14,000. So that's very interesting to myself, as this time we're seeing the contraction phase happen during the upside. So if we're seeing the if we're seeing the contraction phase happen during the upside after a big downside move, that to me is more inherently bearish as well. It's suggesting that this is just, well, shorts closing, and that's where we're getting this upwards momentum. I think that's further enhanced by the open interest read, which again, if we had a chart to confirm this, it would be so much more easy. And it also helped confirm for myself as well, because I'm going off of memory here. But what we've seen on the open interest, we saw it go all the way from like 1.5 billion down to 500 million on the drop from about 8,000 down to 3,000. Then from 3,000 or 4,000 up to where we are right now, we've seen open interest essentially kind of come off a little bit more, but not really get out of the not really get out of the short-term range, which I believe starts to change around the $700 million marker. We've only seen it just kind of ebb and flow between about 550 million and about 700 million as bulls and bears kind of take their turns, running up and then running down. Usually we've seen open interest go up on the downside and go down on the upside, which does suggest redistribution as well, but it's not so cut and dry, and I really wish I had a chart for that, because otherwise I can't really confirm, unfortunately, which is annoying. It's annoying for one, and also makes me feel less confident on that, because I don't know for sure. I'm just going off of memory here, and my memory is pretty damn bad. Anyways, what else do we want to look at while we're here? Yes, okay, so the 2-day, right? So I've been following this as well. Now, I do think it is very legitimate possibility that Bitcoin could get a move up to the 7,900 region. That's where the 200 exponential moving average is on the 2-day dildo time frame. But remember, 2-day dildo time frame does have a death cross going all the way back to late March of 2020, which we are about a little bit less than a month away from that time point as of right now. Keep that in mind. So we're going to follow up on this in just a second. But as it stands, Bitcoin closing the last 2 days a little above the 21. I can't be immediately bearish as long as that's happening. But the second that Bitcoin closes a 2-day dildo below the 21, I actually can be once again immediately bearish, looking for downside to presume. And you know what? That's right around the $7,000 region. So $7,000 region heavily correlated actually with a low term time frame. So this is one of the times where I actually do think that can make for some good decision making. If Bitcoin does start to close 4-hour dildos, especially below 69.50, by extension 7,000, I do think that ultimately will happen, and we will be closing this one later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So it will have a chance. It is obviously $150 above it right now, but we'll actually look at that later with the probability chart. But anyways, keep this all in the back of your mind's eye, because what I want to show now is the last couple examples of this happening in Bitcoin's history. We do see back on over here in 2018 in September. Again, remember the month, September. Bitcoin gets a death cross slowly but surely. You see the moving averages get more and more diverged away from each other, suggesting that the Boston algos are strengthening the sell programs. We do get a test of the 55 right here before it's all said and done during the good old Tether crisis. By the way, also a similar narrative right now as some central banks are suggesting banning of stablecoins. Hint, which is rather interesting, that we probably see the same sort of thing, which with an initial, big move to the upside, followed by, maybe another month of kind of sideways and then down. But ultimately the downwards price action does happen, and we do see about a 51% move from top to bottom after that last rejection off the 21. Now, a couple things here. Remember, as long as we're below the 21, there is immediate pressure to the downside. But we do see that from death cross to actual dooms drop, it takes about a month and a half on this one, from again September 10th to November 7th. So October, November, so 2 months actually for this one. Now we have another example back in 2014, 2015 as well, which you're probably already familiar with because I've done this a million goddamn times, so you're probably already bored with it already. But for the people who haven't heard, we do have death cross routing over here. Price action is very far away, kind of ebbs and flows a little bit, even puts in this massive rising channel. Sounds familiar as well now, doesn't it? Or sorry, a little bit more of a broadening wedge, ascending broadening wedge, redistribution pattern nonetheless, and kind of same thing in 2018 as well with that descending triangle. Patterns were bearish, and Bitcoin does test up to the 55, even the 200 in this mark. This is why I do want to leave the door open for for such behavior. And then what happens after that? As soon as it gets ground down below the 21 again on an open and close basis, massive dooms drop happens from about 54%. But remember, from death cross to initiation of move, that was starting on October 20th, and then dooms drop 7th of December. So October, so November, so about a month and a half, we could say. So as of right now, we haven't even played out a month between this death cross and where we are right now. So would it be relevant to say that we've actually, or that we're likely to break down tonight? No. In fact, I think that this lines up a little bit better with the volatility analysis, especially with regards to the 12-hour, as it does suggest an apex again in middle of May, which would suggest a very high likelihood of breakout, probably sometime right around here, which is going to be later this week, actually. Maybe, probably around later this week, we will become extremely mature within this, and that is further enhanced once again by the volume signature, which we do see a nice ascending volume trend line coming in from March 13th as well, having an apex and where about May 12th. So a lot of these tools are agreeing with each other. That's usually when I do see the best, the best bang for buck. So does Bitcoin spend some time going sideways within this region a little bit, not breaking above 73, but not breaking below 67? I think that that's actually the most likely thing to happen right now. And then we'll probably spend some time just frustrating people, getting people on the wrong side of price action. And then probably later this week, maybe even early May, because that's within like a week and a half now. We actually do get the move, but for right now, I think it's going to be a little bit boring on the medium and higher term timeframes. Lower term timeframes going to have their ebbs and flows as they typically do. So let's go look at probabilities right now and see what we can come up with. As I do want to check on the 73.50ish level, as that would be the upside. So that's still the same. 67.50 the downside. We can maybe extend that to 67 even, but regardless, we do see that the probability of the upside is significantly higher right now. Now, according to the rings, we are squeezing rather aggressively to the upside, but I do want to make sure that this is proper by using future bars, and that is actually once again revert them back onto the downside, which I do think is revealing here, as that is going to be more an accurate read, as we need to be looking at the future close essentially. So with regards to that, the current one's obviously going to be going off of the last one, which I would think that for future analysis we need to use future bars for that. Anyways, back on a current right now, just for the probabilities. I do want to look at the short-term range as well. Remember, $7,000 does hold quite a bit of weight. As far as the 2-day goes, which is closing tonight. So let's see what the probability of closing below that level is today at end of day. And that is rather low as well, actually 17.25%. By the way, did I even talk about the upside target probability? It's 42.5. Jesus Christ, man. And the 6,700-ish level is in the single digits, I believe, like 4%, I believe it was. If I didn't get that number out, probably it's right here if you can't see. So I do think that that's interesting. But of course, the upside target probability significantly higher right now, as you would expect when we're just got off testing that area. So I do want to show that from a mathematical standpoint, it is actually more likely that area does get tagged. So I do believe that if bulls are going to take that next leg up, they have the ball in their court to do it sooner rather than later. And the more hesitation here, the more and more inherently heavy this will get. And that's when I start to potentially look for trades. So for right now, it's a game of patience for myself, and a little bit of waiting should go a long ways. Let's go check out the weekly as well. I'm curious what this one's looking like. Yes, indeed. So we do see that the weekly is having all these major moving averages cross right here. The 10 simple, 21, and 55 getting into a bearish posturing. I would consider yesterday a test of the 10 simple, and if we do come back down and end this week anywhere below 7,000, I would consider this another rejection of the 10 simple, and more importantly, that's going to add up to the add up to the whole scenario that this is all a test of these crosses right here, which are so far rejecting it, telling us that the bots and algos are on the sell side. Again, remember, market sentiment, I do believe from my perusals of crypto Twitter and crypto Reddit, like these very highly esteemed communities, very toxic communities as well, perhaps, is that the halving's coming, and that means Bitcoin goes to moon because halving, and all other logic goes out of the window. Well, the whole idea with that is that, with CME futures kind of in line, kind of takes that whole future analysis away, because people are going to be making their decisions now by using futures, so they can lock in their positions much further in advance. That's the whole purpose of it for the miners, essentially, and the miners are the ones who get hit the hardest by the whole halving now, isn't it? It's not like your fucking average hodler. It doesn't even mean anything for your hodler, because they're just going to be hodling anyways. They don't have any impact on the actual price action if they're just hodling, except for the fact that they just kind of take away from the overall general pool of available. So they obviously do, but not in the way that we're talking about right here. Anyways, more importantly, if we do end this weekly below, especially 7,000 or even 69, or especially 6,900, this is going to be considered a rejection of all these guys, and I would look for further downside to extrapolate from that. By extension, I actually do think that if we close this one kind of here or a little bit higher, especially above 7,300, obviously, then I would look for extension actually all the way to the 55, which is 78.50, right in the midst of our next blue box. If we do take the medium-term upside trajectory, let's look at momentum oscillators while we're here. We do see weekly Stokes are going to head across the upside, and it's also going to be considered a rejection of the bearish control zone here. So that would be more on the bullish side. So bulls have a legitimate chance here. I really want to express that is important. Bulls have a legitimate chance here, obviously, and the reverse Stoke indicator is telling us that as long as we close above 57.20, these will cross the upside inevitably. Now, reverse RSI cross is probably going to be somewhere around 7,300, I believe, same thing as what we saw yesterday, and it's going to have a chance to close back above the bearish control zone as well. Although I express a lot of hesitation with looking at that, as if we do close above 70.80, it will actually cross back up there. So fair enough. I don't trust that one as much, though, for the current price action and getting it. I'd actually go off of moving averages here and levels right now. That is more tangible. But the Stokes are very, very interesting nonetheless. Does add up with the likelihood that we will at the very least test. Now, this is to be mediated now with the 2-day, as the 2-day is closing tonight as well, alongside the weekly, and we do get to see 2-day Stokes potentially have a cross to the downside, which will be confirmed if we close anywhere below 7,300. And that's really, really good, because it's aligning with our topside resistance. So as long as we're living below there, it will inevitably close to the downside. So more sideways here, again, is inherently more bearish. And I would be using this, and I would be putting a significant amount of emphasis on this time frame, as it's just been getting things better for longer. And we do see potentially, not really anything interesting on the RSI here. I was going to say potential, not really getting anything there, actually. Looks like continuation, if anything, actually. As far as the daily goes, we actually do see daily Stokes crossing the upside right now, but I'm curious, what would it take for price action to close below? Yeah, anywhere below about 70.24. So if we do close this tonight, which is going to be the daily close, the 2-day close, and the weekly close, and maybe even the 3-day, let's go check it out. No, it's not going to be the 3-day. So it's daily, 2-day, and weekly, all very important time frames. If we do close this below 7,000, I do think that we will come down at the very least and test around 67.50 again. On the short term, that would set it up for a more long-term bearish move, I do believe. But I'm not necessarily convinced that we actually break even to the down. I'm not convinced that we break to the downside like today, tomorrow, maybe later this week, and same thing for the upside as well. I don't think it's happening today or tomorrow. I think it's happening, later this coming week, maybe early in May. We're just going off of likelihoods here. That's all. Other than that, what else do we want to look at? I did say that this was going to be a long-term analysis day. However, is there really anything to update new there? I think the most bullish thing is just the fact that the stock market had a really good close. But I actually do think that this is setting up for a pullback here. The more and more that I look at this, I think that we're hitting a local top, very likely. Looking at it from a bearish fib perspective, I guess I already have it in there. We're kind of right at the 618. Let me make sure I do this one properly. Yeah, a little bit higher, right around 294 and a third. If I use Wix, a little bit, pretty much where we are right now. So maybe another small drive to the upside. But overall, I do think that we are going to be hitting a local top here at the very least, whether you're super bullish on this or super bearish on this. I do think that we hit a local top here and come down to open up this week, this coming week right here. Weekly, I should have a really good close as well. Jesus, man. Really good close, actually. Jesus. So yeah, well, maybe I'm gonna be completely wrong about this. Hold on. The weekly looks really good. Wow. Weekly Stokes up, but I don't really trust them as much in this market. Weekly RSI looks okay. You know what? I would actually be bullish looking at SPY. Let me look at NAS futures. NAS futures look obviously toppy to me. Look very toppy to me. Looks like they want to come back down to 8,300. E-mini futures look like they want to come back down to 2,700. So 2,700 would be equal to about 270 on SPY. Do I see that on the daily here? The daily actually looks toppy to me. The weekly does not. You know what? I don't know. I don't know. I can make a case for both sides. Shit, should we actually do some long-term analysis on this? Ah, motherfucker. We have never seen a macro low put in on long-term traditional markets for SPY without bullish divergence on at the very least the weekly, similar to Bitcoin daily bullish divergence on the low. However, there is a competing narrative to this. We're gonna look at the Hearst exponential over here. Do I really want to get into this right now? This is gonna be really difficult to talk about. Fuck me. All right, let's go on SPY right now for now. Actually, no, the Hearst exponential is suggesting that we're at a top right now. Yeah, I'm going with that. All right, fair enough. For some reason, I thought that I had something bearish here. Oh yeah, this one's massively out of range too. Anytime that we've been on the top side of the range, that's your big bad drops. That looks like 2008, 2009. That looks like our 2011 pullback right here. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I do think that, okay, you know what? I do think that's going to come back down. I don't really know if right now is the best time to explain the Hearst exponential. It's going to be like another 20-minute longer video. It does look like that's within range, within reason. Oscillator working well right on over here. This is another amazingly efficacious product by Bali. I think I'll hold off on the explanation on it for now, but actually this would suggest that we are going to be looking at a pullback this week. So you know what, I'm going to go with that. The weekly perhaps a little bit of a farce of a close. All the time frames do look pullbacky-ish to me. So I do think it's important to talk about just the fact that I think most people have been bearish on this whole run up. I think that's been washing out all of the over leveraged people. However, now's the time where I actually do feel like this could fall back down. We're going to see daily Stokes very likely cross back down. See daily RSI is putting in hidden bearish divergence, I believe. No, it's not actually. Sorry, I apologize. That is not true. Sorry, no. It is true. It is true because our last, we do have this point right here. Let's maybe see if this works on a 2-day as well. It's a little bit further away. Yes, does work here as well. Although that's a damn good close on Friday. Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. But yeah, you know what? I'll stick true to my guns on that one. Let's go check out Butyrol and Mrs. Litecoin. See if they have anything obvious. Yeah, for Mr. Butyrol, 200 not even exponential. We are testing that right now, but 200 simple, right around 172 and a quarter. As long as it's above there, I actually can't be bearish on it. Although, you are operating in basically a rising channel, right? But that rising channel does have a top somewhere around my next liquid zone in the low 190s. So does it get a test up there first and foremost before anything else? I think that's possible. I would not get bearish on this one short term or medium term or even long term for that matter until it breaks back down below about 173-ish region. So that offers up a nice little natural pivot for the short and medium term time frames. If that were to happen, I'd look for a move actually all the way down here towards 153, and that's where the long term could once again spill on over. As we do see a rising channel here, and that would likely incite a target back down around the low side of the range around 120-ish region. So at the end of the day, it does look to me like Mr. Butyrol is actually leading right now, and that is usually the ends of the rallies, by the way. We usually see Mr. Butyrol take the reins last, and then it's Doom's droppy time, and you're probably going to push that back on the statement saying, Vitalik would never do that to me, Krown. Go fuck yourself. And I'd say, you know what? I should go fuck myself. But before I go fuck myself, let's go see what happened last time. Remember when Butyrol was working its way up here towards the $300 region? Everyone was getting super bullish, although it just happened to be another lower high. Kind of crazy, right? And that was right before all the rest of the market turned back. Remember, Litecoin and Bitcoin rallied up much sooner before this, much sooner before this, and they kind of topped out first. This was around the $10,500 region. So let's actually measure the timing of this. Yeah, this one happened a couple days before. on the 11th, and then Butyrol followed up a few days later, making its high, and then Butyrol, and then everything kind of came down at the same time. I think Mrs. Litecoin at the same time as well. Yeah, actually about the same time. 13th is when it made its high, it looks like. And same thing going on over here. Mrs. Litecoin, obviously the laggard of the market right now. That same sort of pivot point to me would be 42.25. As long as it's above 42.25, I can't be immediately bearish for medium or long term. If it does break 42.25, though, I can be immediately bearish on just about every time frame, probably all the way back down to the mid $30 range. But we'll get to that bridge when we cross it if it does happen. For right now, still seems to me like it's going to try to reaccumulate in this region. Does look like it's primed for some short term downside, as a little smidgen of bearish divergence there on the 4 hour between this high and this high. Not all that interesting, but you do see that play out rather often in Bitcoin land, and I think that we're kind of seeing that right now. I'll do a quick look at the matrix chart before we send this one off. Let's see if there's anything to update on the long term. I'm curious here. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So how do I want to explain this? We see this guy coming in. Okay, interesting. All right, so each one of these dotted trend lines is a support trend line for all of the parabolic market cycles in Bitcoin's history. Now, before I get into this, actually, I should say this is more so analyst crystal ball bullshit. Do I trade off this? Fuck no. Do I think it's interesting? Fuck yeah. Fuck no. Fuck yeah. But okay, but now we can explain it. All right, so all the dotted trend lines, as I said, are support trend lines for all the parabolic market cycles in Bitcoin's history, starting off with this first one anchored in 2010 and in later 2010, both points in 2010, gets broken on this parabolic move over here to the downside, and that becomes our highs of the next market cycle in 2011 and 2011 right here, rather rapidly. And you'll notice that these time frames get longer and longer naturally as time goes on. Then we get the next support trend line for the next parabolic market cycle. By the way, that one was new. I actually never had one never plotted that one in before, but I did realize after a lot of close looking that was proper. Then we have this next one anchored in 2011 and 2012 right here, gets broken. Sorry, no. We have this one, yes, in 2011 and 2012 right here, gets broken about February of 2012, it looks like, and that becomes our parabolic highs of our March 13th, 2013, I should say, and November 2013 cycle right on over here. Then we create another support trend line for this next parabolic market cycle anchored in 2011 and 2013 right here, and that gets broken in the 2014-2015 saga, which becomes our next parabolic market cycle highs for right here, actually almost immediately on that spike up in 2015 before that accumulation phase, and then becomes our highs obviously of 2017-2018, still respecting it. Then we create another support trend line for this next parabolic market cycle that was anchored in 2015 and 2016 right here, gets tested again in 2018, 2019 on that low, and then broken on that last major move down below about 79.50-ish region that we saw about a month and a half ago now. And does that become our parabolic highs with this next cycle? Perhaps yes. So we actually could come up with dates and ranges now that potentially suggest, what a potential maximum high would be for Bitcoin at that date, assuming that it still follows this trajectory, which is very much under question. And we can already make another support trend line probably for this next market cycle anyways as well, which maybe that is actually worth looking at. It is a Sunday. Let's fuck around here for a little bit. We can make a support trend line for this next one as well. So now we can actually come up with a little bit of a range, which makes this a lot more interesting. I'm curious if this matches up with historical volatility percentile ranges as well, which I'm not sure if we can make it that accurate for like a year out. But let's see what it would look like around the halving. So that's middle of May, potential high of 9,500, which is also not 0.5 Fibonacci retracement. Potential low of 6,100. And this suggests that, well, for now, we're probably unlikely to break this dotted support trend line right here. And this one's a little bit more experimental, to be fair. Again, I don't trade off this shit, but it is fun to look at. Then after that, let's go look at like what 2021 would bring, January 2021. That would suggest right around the 236, right up here at a maximum price of $14,500. That to me would actually make me massively bullish anyways, just by getting back above 11.5 on a weekly closing basis. By the same token, at beginning of 2021, we do see that the bottom side support would be somewhere around the 618 at around $7,300. So a little bit of perspective here. Is it likely that Bitcoin's above 7,300? at the end of the year? Actually, yes. At least from this perspective. Again, am I trading like this? No, I'm not. Let's go look at 2022. Or yeah, that's the next year after that, right? 2022 starts right in over here, and that happens to be a maximum high of 33,300 and a maximum low of 11,600. Again, perspective. Let's go look at 2023 and just see how this kind of extrapolates further. 2023 maximum high of 75,000, maximum low of basically 18,000. And I don't want to do it any more than that because these market cycles, probably fall apart after a few years anyways, but some fun stuff to do on a Sunday. So there you have it. 2023, Bitcoin's going to $75,000 and there ain't no ands, ifs, or buts about it. Obviously, fuck no, but just for some fun, man. Have some fucking fun when you're looking at the same goddamn price action day in and day out. Might as well have some fun with it, right? All right, so cool. Anyways, back on to Bitcoin right over here. I do want to take a quick look at the accumulation distribution indicator, and then we'll send you off. It's already 45 minutes long. Jesus Christ. But it is Sunday, man. You knew what you were getting into the second that you open up this video. You gotta listen to my raspy lesbian voice for a little bit of time, or just turn it off. Accumulation distribution indicator slope is still negative here, and actually even breaking this trend line, which is kind of nasty. Yeah, very nasty actually. This trend line, maybe more so like this. Yeah, but I don't really care about trends on this, to be honest with you. I've never really seen them work out anyways, but what I do see work out is the slope on this, and as long as we have a negative slope, I am hard to be bullish. Doesn't mean that it can't change around, and of course, when Bitcoin breaks 7,300, you probably will see it shift around, but let's see how it operates tomorrow, because we will get a next tick on it, and in the next tick, if we are to move to the upside here, I would expect that to at least flatten out if we are going to move to the upside. So again, a little bit of waiting here, but interesting nonetheless. Alrighty, other than that, time to get back onto the lower term time frames, and let's look at Bitcoin for just one last little second. If Bitcoin does break below 7,100 on a 2-hour digital time frame, I would look for extension all the way down to about 6,950, 7,000. That's where the medium and higher term time frames could change today. If they close below there, if we see a 2-day closure below 7,000 especially, I would look for this to play a little bit more sideways in a range between about, I don't know, maybe 7,100 and then 6,750, and then setting up for likely a break a little bit later, maybe early May, late April, something like that would kind of make sense. By the same token, if Bitcoin does reaccumulate in this region right here, which I'm not really looking for that to happen, but fair enough if it did, and we come back up and close above about 7,300, I would look for extension to the next blue box territory at about 70, let's call it 7,900, meeting up with all sorts of other major areas. To the downside, I don't really get excited for like major downside until 6,700 is broken on at the very least 4-hour, preferably like a 12-hour or a daily. And other than that, I think it's gonna be a little bit of a waiting game here. I'm going to be on Twitch a little bit later after I close this video, so looking forward to that. Anything else? I think it's time for me to wish you the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest. And yeah, I'm going to be signing off now, so take care, and until next time.